All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our monthly webinar, our June webinar, Building Intranets, the Kiefer Approach. My name is Brian Wallace. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Kiefer Consulting. And every month we do these webinars. They're about 30 minutes long. They're really kind of a quick download on a different topic each month. Hopefully you found out about this through either the social media or our newsletter. If you do not subscribe to our newsletter, at the end of this presentation you'll see a link to our website, and you can go ahead and come onto our website and sign up for the newsletter and make sure that you're getting all the notifications and notices on what we're presenting and when we'll be presenting it. So today's presentation is called Building Intranets, the Kiefer Approach. And I'm joined today by a couple different folks here from the Kiefer office. We've got myself. I'm the Director of Marketing, as I said before, and we have Ronan Ellis here today. He's our Director of Sales. Hello. Ronan, all right. And we are joined by Greg Kiefer, our CEO and President. Greg, welcome. Hello. All right, so it's kind of a different format today. We've got three of us on the call. All three of us have different experience in working with clients as they work to build intranets. So we're going to be kind of informal here. We might jump around a little bit from slide to slide, and Ronan will be presenting some of the slides, and Greg will be also presenting some slides as well. And then we'll probably go back and forth a little bit and jump in when there's something to add. Again, we'll try to keep this to 30 minutes. And if you do have questions during the presentation, over in the panel with the GoToWebinar, there's a questions tab. Feel free to fill in a question. I'm going to keep an eye on that as we move through the half-hour presentation. And I will go ahead and make sure that all the panelists get a chance to hear the questions as they come in. And we'll do our best to answer them and as they come in into the panel. All right, so we're going to kick it off first, talking a little bit about intranets and the idea of what an intranet is and what it's intended to do. So I'll pass that over to Greg, I guess, right, Greg?
Yep.
Yeah.
So as many of you are aware, almost everyone has an intranet, and there's different flavors of intranets. There's intranets that are elegant, I guess, and fully integrated into an organization's lifestyle, and all of their employees are fully engaged. There's other intranets that are built that are just done because you want to have an intranet. Those become stale after a while. The intranets that are the most successful are ones that drive lots of collaboration within the organizations. They have current information published to those. The information is relevant and current to the consumer's information. They also connect users with stakeholders. So combination of your peers providing information, executive management, and all the different leaders within your organization having the ability to share information and proliferate that throughout the organization so it can be consumed. It's really designed to be secure and confidential. Intranets are designed to be internal. So building a secure intranet and for collaboration and communications is also critical.
Great. So when we work with clients, we find that there are a lot of common challenges with folks, with people working through their intranet. Greg, you want to talk a little bit about some of those common challenges?
Yeah, I don't know when this term got coined, but quite a few years ago, a term called findability. I'm not even sure it's a real word, but findability is the #1 thing that we run into on almost every intranet. And you'll see some of the slides later on when we talk about how we make that information defined and some of the tools we use for making that. But really, finding information within an intranet is the most critical thing. So it's a combination of a lot of different things, tagging. Having an intranet that looks not necessarily elegant, but aesthetically pleasing. You want to have an intranet that at least looks like it's current, responsive, again, easy to find information. Intranets require governance. A lot of the common challenges we see is a lack of governance. So just like any other enterprise solution that you build for your company or participate in or use, it requires some level of governance to make sure the information is published in a manner which it should be published in the right voice. Also having making sure and ensuring people own the content and they know what their responsibilities are for publishing content, updating it. Users don't use it. Again, it goes back to usability, goes back to findability. They might have a tendency to go back to using email to send links to documents or just send documents around. Making sure the intranet meets those user-centric design requirements of making sure that it's designed for the people that need to consume the information.
Great. So the importance of a good intranet.
Yeah, that's a good place to start, Brian. So it's actually making sure you know who your audience are. Just like a public-facing website, identifying who the audience is, making sure you have those people involved and engaged in the process. Make sure you design it so that it meets their business needs. It should help employees do their jobs better. You're always looking for productivity enhancements, process efficiency improvements. So making sure they can do their jobs better, the intranet is one of those components. So if they can find the information easier, fill out a form, complete a workflow, check on a process or a status or something, you can have that all published to the intranet. Intranet's designed with, again, users at the beginning, making sure you engage them and understand what their needs are. A great intranet is also well designed and easy to navigate, and we'll talk about that when we talk about usability. But again, if it's not easy to navigate and it's not consistent throughout the website, which we've seen organically designed intranets grow over time, you go from page to page to page and department to department or business function areas within an organization, and none of it's consistent. So you want to have an experience that's consistent and easy to navigate.
Great. So we'll talk a little bit about our approach to building a good intranet and kind of talk about the building blocks, if you will. And this is kind of a really quick overview of what we do and how we have helped clients. Obviously, a lot of folks know us as a SharePoint team because we've got a lot of expertise. So, Ronan, you want to take this slide here?
Yeah, we're not ashamed to say that we love SharePoint. We love SharePoint, whether it be on-premises. We love SharePoint, whether it's Office 365. We truly feel that SharePoint is a great platform for intranet for a number of reasons. One, many of you already have some level of SharePoint, either within your environment or as part of your Office 365 subscriptions. So it's a very low-cost platform to be able to use to leverage your intranet. One of the things with SharePoint is great as a base for your intranet, but it really takes understanding the features and applying some expertise to transform your intranet from the bland SharePoint folder-looking user interface to something that's really compelling for your users. You want that. You don't want the folder, the old-fashioned SharePoint. What you are looking for is something that users are attracted to, that they can find information easily, and again, that you're providing a design that works on all types of client platforms.
So I have a question for you too, Ronan, on this.
Sure.
So when you have your intranet in SharePoint, from a user perspective, they're working in kind of a just really basic folder structure, right? I mean, they're adding to the web page, if you will, right? Like they're not actually tinkering with the actual interface.
So it depends on the type of user. So if you're a content manager, or if you're responsible for the content, you're going to have the very familiar Office ribbon and integration in with the Office product. So it's very easy to be able to update any information. If you do need to make any changes to the actual look and feel of SharePoint, it is very much drag and drop kind of features and functions.
Cool.
And typically on intranets, Brian, they're publishing oriented. So you create content, you do create pages, and you publish pages. But there's also a tremendous amount of documents and other artifacts that are part of that solution. So some people may just be responsible for uploading current documents. They get tagged and they surface through the internet.
Nice. So building that user experience, and this is kind of a process here, right?
Yeah, so one of the things that we really emphasize is we want you to be able to customize that user interface to something that your users specifically are going to want to go to and use. So it's not just, here's SharePoint, let's put together a wireframe and let's put it up there. Let's really go through a process to understand what are those important features that you're looking for as part of your intranet. What is the general outline as far as wireframes is concerned? What's the branding that to make it, whether, customized to your specific corporation or agency or department. We do go through and also do what we call the mock-ups, where we put everything together and we validate that with the users. And then once we're completed with that, then we go ahead and go through the activities associated with launching the site with all those features that we agreed to. So when we look at the intranet and go through that process, we're really using these building blocks of what we call an elegant intranet. Of course, you want it to be responsive to work on any type of device. You want it to be a very intuitive design where people go using their and the modern visuals where people are attracted to specific areas of the screen for specific information or information areas. You want it to also have just that look and feel that users want to be there and really want to explore and find the information that they're looking for. One of the things that we do is what we call a fit gap assessment, and this is very important throughout the full process. What the fit gap assessment essentially does is it makes sure that we're aligning the requirements and the expectations with what the work and the resources available are. Many projects, whether it be an intranet project, any type of development project, public-facing website, we strongly advocate following this process so there's full communication and transparency between the users, making sure their expectations are set. Part of this effort, of course, is estimating effort and prioritizing features and functions. The users know what they're getting and how much effort it's going to take. Very important throughout the whole process to have this so that at the end of the build process, users' expectations are completely met.
I know this is a very important topic here, information architecture.
Yes, very important, Brian. The look and feel that we just talked about is very important from the user perspective, except if you don't have the proper we will call it infrastructure in the back, but what we're really talking about here is layout, navigation, labeling, tags, so that you're enabling the proper search. Your intranet is not going to be what it can be. Information architecture is a very important exercise to go through in order to not only make it pretty to look at it, but this is where you're really building it to make sure that it's functional and meeting the user's needs.
Yeah. Greg, you have anything to add to that one? Or?
No, again, it's we do use a tool called Line Manager, which is we use it on all of our projects. But again, this is one of the most critical parts. And this is when you do the interviews too, talking to people about the information they're trying to collect and manage and tag so they can't find it.
Cool. Now this is this slide here talks a little bit about pre-testing and validating that information architecture, ensuring that where you have the information is the right place.
Yep,
right?
Exactly. So tree testing is a great tool to validate your information architecture. What it essentially is it's getting test users, giving them certain scenarios, asking them to follow, a kind of a mock-up site and to try and find information. And this is really validating. Is your menuing correct? Is your hierarchy correct? Are your search functioning as expected? And it really can help for us to be able to modify or adjust the information architecture based on the actual user experience.
That's huge. I know that I've been to sites looking for specific information and clicked around and not been able to find what I'm looking for. So this is the wireframe. This is the slide here that talks a little about the wireframe framing process. This is something that happens before we actually get into the real building of the intranet, correct?
Yes, it is. And the important thing about wireframing, what we try and do, is we're very focused on the layout. And what you see here is you don't see any graphics, you don't see any content, because users tend to look at that, at something, a fully built site, and focus on what the content or the picture is without necessarily focusing on what the layout is. To not provide a lot of graphics or user information or content, so that you can focus on, is this the right place for this information on this site?
And then based on that wireframing, then you start building in the mock-ups and start to really bring things
Exactly. This is where your wireframing, as we go through the build process, you're going to see that the wireframing merging in with the mock-ups that we develop, and ends up on your site.
It also helps reduce some of the subjectivity associated with art.
Mm-hmm.
And the end product is essentially art.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so by having the wireframe, getting that through, like Roy was saying, is you get plain vanilla sketches that say this is the content that's the most important,
mm-hmm.
without having the eye focused on the graphics design elements.
Right.
When people start saying, well, I want it to be green or blue, they say, well, we can focus on that after we get the primary functionality of the site done in the wireframe.
Correct. Cool. Now, I know we're going to get into kind of the whole how does Kiefer build, and we use some really cool toolkits here and some proprietary toolkits, I guess you would call them, to build these intranets.
Exactly. And the important thing here, Brian, is why do we love SharePoint? We love SharePoint because the vast majority of the functionality is either part of SharePoint or is included as part of the what we call the Kiefer Accelerator. So when we do your intranet, it's very rare that any real custom code is required. So with that, you're going to significantly reduce your cost of the build-out by not having all of your developers doing custom code. You're going to leverage what SharePoint has. You're going to leverage our accelerator, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the upcoming slides. And you're going to get these intranets that are very user-friendly, responsive design without the normal effort that would be required in building an intranet on some other platform.
Cool. Cool.
And of course, once you have built that, you want to make sure that if you have any external or not necessarily external, but other environments which you want to integrate in, such as a timekeeping system, things of that nature, this is all done as part of the system integration effort. Again, leveraging standard data modeling and data sharing practices and technologies. Much of this can be implemented with real minimal effort in comparison to building something from scratch.
Cool. I can see the benefit of this because if you do have a lot of different places you have to go for information, the idea of a good intranet is now that you have one place to go and all that information there is there, it rolls up somehow.
Yes, right? Exactly. And it can be customized based on the user and where the user resides within the organization.
So Brian, what they used to do is an older intranet, they used to just make these links up to other systems.
Yep.
And now it's really easy to integrate them.
Cool.
They're either all software as a service platforms, they all have typically web services you can call. And then they're also a lot of Active Directory driven, so you can federate the security so you can connect to them.
Cool.
And then it's confidential information for each individual when they log in.
Right. Nice. I like that. So the business intelligence piece, that you talked about that a little bit on the integration side.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that we love about SharePoint is more and more organizations are looking for dashboards. They're looking to have a consolidated view of their information as part of their intranet, whether that be directly on the intranet page or direct access to that, again, leveraging the SharePoint services. We are seeing a really strong interest, especially now that Power BI is part of Office 365, in integrating in your Power BI reports, your dashboards directly into your intranet. It's all pretty seamless as far as the user experience is concerned, and minimal effort once you understand the Power BI interface.
Cool. Cool stuff there. Governance. Now, I know this slide made this into this deck because we talked with our project management folks, and they wanted to make sure that this slide was in there, the governance slide.
They felt this was the most important.
They felt like this was the most important slide, definitely. Greg, you want to take this one?
Yeah, Kat talked about this earlier about the governance aspect of any project,
right?
Especially specifically in intranet, making sure you identify roles and responsibilities. The primary thing is just making sure your content's up to date and it's relevant. And the only way it's up to date and relevant is
right.
And so that's what the whole governance process is what that process looks like, frequency of update, who owns it, the voice of the content, who has access to publish the information, what workflows are in place for maybe reviewing content. So we go through that, and then make sure you, on the IT side, or the technical side, make sure you identify the roles of the different people that are going to be administering that, giving permissions to people to actually update content, provide the content, and so forth. So some people are just consumers, essentially readers or consumers. Other people are contributors at different levels of contribution.
Yeah, obviously without this governance, I mean, no matter how good that intranet looks, and if the information's not kept up to date, people will stop using it, right? I mean, this is what we hear when we hear common challenges. This is, typically some of them stem from the idea that they just missed on that whole governance piece.
Exactly.
And another piece they do around the governance is actually putting, when relevant, depending on the size of the company, committees together that manage and monitor the use of the internet. And they do that for public-facing websites too.
Yeah.
So those committees are oftentimes the same people. There's a public information officer, typically people from IT, some of the different business areas. And then they look at some of the stats within the system to see how it's being used and to see whether or not it's still meeting their needs.
All right. So characteristics of this improved intranet. I guess this is kind of like, what are the outcomes when we work with a client to help them build a new intranet or improve their existing? These are the outcomes. So this is what clients come and tell us is the goal, right? Or this is what we're hoping to get, right? So you guys want to go through these highlights here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the final solution again is a result of having a process that's been delivered in multiple instances. Other ways you can get to this end goal is to work with other, specifically in the state, other departments, other agencies that have also built very successful intranets. And we can share some of those. You can go to our website and see some of our case studies for those. Feel free to reach out to those people and reach out to us for those contacts. That's a really good place to start, especially if you're a smaller agency and you have the budget to bring in consultants. Definitely go see how they're doing it, how they're using it, and take them to that practice and ask them how they got to the finish line. Making sure it's compliant with all the ADA Section 508 accessibility guidelines. We've gone through extensive, and some of the stuff we've done with some of our clients like Cal HR and the Cal Careers sites, we've actually gone through extensive work in those areas, making sure they're compliant. And we apply those best practices to all of our projects. Again, the finished end result is, did you achieve your goals of findability and efficiency and engagement? Adoption is a huge part of the process of making sure people engage in the site, and you can track that to see if people are actually using it. That's a successful internet when people actually are using it. You can't force someone to use something,
right?
Especially an internet, unless it's a form and you're requesting a pay increase. then you can force them to go to that.
Right, right.
And again, using the latest standards, HTML5, CSS3, Bootstrap, again, for responsive design, the other frameworks. Make sure you're using the industry standards for those so that you're not using something esoteric that can't be supported.
Right, right. Cool. So here's a little bit about what we've actually been able to do in helping clients build intranets. You know, we've been working with clients to help support that collaboration and that internal sharing of information. And I think we have some screenshots from some of the sites that we've worked on. And, you know, this obviously, you know, these layouts here, just going to give the viewers here on the call an idea of what we were able to bring in. And a lot of this is Accelerator, right?
It is. And it's, you know, when you first look at this, it's hard to believe that this is actually SharePoint underneath. It doesn't look anything like what you would expect most SharePoint environments or pages to look like. What you're seeing is the result of all that effort that we talked about as far as it being aesthetically pleasing, easy to find information, information rolling up, a very well-defined hierarchy for the information, and of course that navigation and powerful search is essential. And this is a perfect example of what we were able to do, leveraging the SharePoint environment and our accelerator for CalPERS.
Here's another example. This is one we worked on with CalOES. And again, a lot of the same types of roll-up here coming from the accelerator, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I did notice in the last example it said today's question of the day. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's the organization leveraging the platform and keeping the information very, very fresh, right? Mm-hmm. And keeping it very, very relevant. You know, getting people to go to it every day and engage, right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole. I guess that's the secret sauce here is the engagement, right?
They do surveys too at CalPERS and mm-hmm. other highlight employees. Mm-hmm. Just all kinds of stuff that encourage that collaboration and help define that corporate culture. Mm-hmm. This one's an example of this one too, is they actually apply more color.
Yeah.
To it. So they wanted to have more color to highlight different things. One of their status dashboards is a roll-up of their statuses for emergencies. Mm-hmm. And having that on their surface on their intranet was something that's critical. And that dashboard matches their other interfaces they have in other applications and monitoring that.
Cool. Now this was one that was done for not a public sector client. This was done for a private sector client, right?
Yep.
This was all done in Office 365. So that it looks a little different because you see the header at the top there, but you can kind of see the same kind of components being built in here: the news, the roll-ups, the integration. Right?
Yep, exactly. And this is a great example of what you saw initially. We built on the on-prem, and on this we built on Office 365. And other than that ribbon up top, you really can't tell the difference. So no matter which platform you have, you still have the ability to build a very compelling intranet for your organization.
I've always wondered on this one what happens when you click on Help Me. Maybe when we're over there at the client side, I'll have to click on it.
Yeah, click Help Me. Yeah. So here's this toolkit that we talked about, the accelerator. You know, that is really kind of one of the. I'd say it's a differentiator for us because it allows us to help build these intranets faster.
It certainly is, but what's very important as well is that accelerator was built by the team here based on our vast experience of working with various organizations over the years. So very key to this is not just the technology, it's not just the approach, it's the team that we have in place who really understands how to work with your organization throughout the whole process, having people who work very well with the business users to gather any specific business requirements, somebody who really focuses in on the user interface and user design going through that process. So to really get users focused on what's needed there. And then, of course, having the technical expertise to be able to implement these, provide the proper knowledge transfer for your organization as we go, not only just delivering it, but as we're going through the whole process. So your organization is very familiar with everything. Our consultants are that. They're true consultants who understand how to work with various levels of your organization to provide the maximum value possible.
Great. So we've talked a lot about the accelerator, so
yes,
the power in that. I mean,
yes,
we've kind of covered
exactly,
it.
Brian. We have, but you know that graphic up in the right there, that says it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by leveraging this, like we've said in the past, SharePoint is great. Not a lot of customization required, real true customization required to put our accelerator on top of it. You can get some really great intranet built in about half the time you would other platforms.
And the cool thing is it's all included in our price.
Oh, good. That's cool. So we talked a little bit about this before. I mean, this is what the outcomes that people are looking for, that ADA compliance, that responsive design, continued development, because, you know, we're continuing to develop on Accelerator based on what clients are asking for.
Yep,
yeah.
Exactly.
And then obviously that less time to build, that 30 to 70% times fast, 30 to 70% faster metric is just awesome.
The one other thing, sorry, Brian,
yeah,
very important here is we strive to make sure that this accelerator that we provide to our customers at no cost is built for the future. Mm-hmm. So as any new iterations of SharePoint comes out, we want to make sure that's completely compatible. If you want to start with a small, not so feature-rich intranet, you can do that and then build from that. And the accelerator will grow along with whatever your needs are.
Great. I know I think it's 10:33 now. We said we'd be done around 10:30, so we did pretty well actually. And this is, you know, I mean, this topic here is a topic that a lot of clients come to us to talk about, and we've written about it. You know, we blog on our website. There's a couple articles there. There's one about usability testing, which we talked about, the tree testing method. Is your intranet in need of a makeover? You know, this is based on a lot of those common challenges. Feel free to check them out. They're at kieferconsulting.com. I am going to unmute the line and open it up now for questions if there's any questions, but we'll be wrapping up here. We have a group of folks here on the call. Is there anybody that has a question? No? Checking here. I'm also looking at the question panel as well. I know Paisley had put a comment in there earlier. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
A couple other things, Brian, that we didn't really mention is with everybody pretty much going to SharePoint Online, the Office 365 suite of products, a lot of the calls that we've gotten over the last couple months have been, how do I assess my current environment? So that's a process that we've invested a significant amount of time in, is trying to figure out how to help people assess. And then the second question they ask is, how do I migrate? And there's a variety of tools of partners like ShareGate, Metalogix, that we actually work with extensively to help people make the migration, the transition easier. And those are some areas that have been pretty popular when we're talking to customers and actually getting phone calls.
Yeah, it's been that migration has been a hot topic, and the month before last, our webinar was on migration. So if you are interested in doing a quick download of a 30-minute webinar that we did 2 months ago, that's still really relevant, you can check out our YouTube channel, Kiefer Consulting. If you do a search for Kiefer Consulting, you'll see all of our videos there. So it doesn't look like we have any questions, but we welcome any feedback you guys have. Please email us, call us, and hopefully you'll join us again for one of these calls. Like I said, today was a little bit of a different format. I actually kind of like sitting in here with Ronan and Greg and being able to kind of share different ideas on these slides. And if you would like any maybe a more targeted presentation, something that you have specific questions that you'd like to have answered, again, please contact us. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll hopefully see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.